Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Contracting Business Basics. I am your host, Lori Rawlings, the Executive Director of the Plumbing and Mechanical Contractors Association of Oregon, Southwestern Washington, and Northern California. We're bringing this program to you in conjunction with the Mechanical Contractors Association of Western Washington. And in this session, we are going to be talking about the first significant piece of the program that we mentioned in our introductory video, which is the questionnaire that you should take time walking through before you start diving into the learning modules, because it will help you kind of identify some areas that you should be thinking about before you just jump right into the learning modules. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our instructor, Hank Brancasio. Welcome, Hank.
Thanks, Lori. I'm glad to be here. Glad to go through this checklist today. I think it's a great starting point for this program. It's part one of the program, but I think it'll give interested parties an opportunity to really get an understanding of how much they know and what they don't know. And that'll help them determine which learning modules to go through, whether it be all of them or some of them. I think this is a great place to start. So we've tried to break this checklist up into different, what I call business categories. So the first number of questions is generating revenue and maintaining cash flow. And what's in red are the learning modules that is associated with that. So if you go through a question, I'm just going to start with the first one. Do you know what markets you'll be working in? If you understand that, or you think you understand that, or even if you don't understand, you can then utilize and understand, well, I need to go through learning module 1, account management, which will help you understand what markets you should be working in, whether it be, K through 12 or healthcare or industrial, that type of thing. If you put together a list of customers, well, that's another part of, again, account management. So we go through this generating revenue and maintaining cash flow in the checklist as we go through this. And this does relate to the learning modules associated with those particular categories. If we scroll down a little further, you'll see a section called Key Partners and Professionals Required to Succeed. You probably don't think of them as key partners, but people like your banker and your bonding agent, and understanding, who to use and what to use and when to use. We're not going to try to make you legal experts. We're not going to try to make you accounting experts. But there's some good information in here. And if this is not something you're familiar with, then I would suggest you go through it. If it is something you're familiar with, then I would suggest that you maybe pass on it. But it gives you an opportunity to go through. This checklist is designed so it can be done. You can print it out and just check the boxes off, write some notes next to it, and then go from there. And so as we scroll through this next section of key partners, you'll see stuff about insurance and bonding and attorneys from that standpoint, as well as key suppliers and subcontractors. And so I think this is a fundamental component of running a business and starting a business and operating a business that you need to go through. We jump into administrative. Now we start to look at some legal advice issues that's related to your business. Have you even set up a business? If you're just starting out, do you even have a business? We're going to talk about LLC and an S Corp and a C Corp. Again, we're not attorneys. We're not accountants. We're not going to tell you what's the best for your business from a tax standpoint and a legal standpoint. But what we will point out are things that will help you. It'll trigger things in your mind. So now you can go ask your accountant or your attorney what to do. As we go through this, you'll see things about service business. I don't know what type of a business you might be creating, but the bottom line is that some people only do construction, some people only do service, some people do both. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And again, we try to tie that back to different learning modules. You'll also notice item number 5 on this sheet in front of you is union financial commitments. This seems to be a big bugaboo for people that start out and aren't really familiar with, even though you might be a union plumber or union steam fitter, you may not be familiar with all of the commitments you have to make on a weekly basis in your payroll related to this. And this is important to understand, and we'll talk about that. And again, that's a a separate learning module itself. So as you go through this, you'll get a sense of all the different learning modules related to the program. Do you understand what goes into your labor rate? So we'll walk you through some spreadsheets and how to calculate your labor rate, how to calculate your vehicle rate, how to put together a business pro forma so you can figure out how much money do I really need? How much income do I need and revenue do I need at what profit level to run my business? And we're going to talk about that. And so if that's something that doesn't really, like, you have no experience with, you definitely want to look at learning module number 2 from that standpoint. Operations, we talk about support tools. Again, I think most people that run mechanical businesses understand tools and equipment that men need out in the field for the most part. But do you understand all the support tools that you're going to need in your office, like software and accounting software and printers and computers, all of that stuff that may not be as familiar to you as a pipe wrench? We continue down on this list, and I'm just scrolling through this again at a very high level. We start to talk about design and estimating. Now, this is probably an area that most people are pretty familiar with, but maybe not. And so we've got a little section on design and estimating. We're not going to teach you how to estimate mechanical work. We're not going to teach you how to design it, mechanical work. But what we are going to do is point out some things you need to be aware of if you're doing estimating and design work. Safety issues. It's our last learning module, but not to be discounted as not important. It's extremely important. And safety equipment can be expensive. And so we talk about what safety equipment you may need or not need and things that you want to look for when you're doing that. Finally, as we scroll through here, we talk about things like, do you have space to work out of your house, or do you need a shop and an office? And these are just, they're apropos to anybody starting a business. In this particular case, it's a mechanical contracting business or plumbing business, but it could be anything. These are a lot of general business issues that are related to that. And that kind of wraps up the checklist, which we would really encourage you to spend 30 minutes, go through the checklist, write some notes, print it out, check off the stuff that you think you might be familiar with or that you may not be familiar with. And potentially at that point, when you're done with this, before you do the learning modules, you may want to call someone that you have faith in. You can call me to spend 30 minutes going through it with you and what your results are. And that might help you identify, do I need to go through all the learning modules, or do I need to skip some learning modules that I'm pretty familiar with? The program is very segmented in that you don't need to go through all the learning modules. You can pick and choose which ones make the most sense for you. Each learning module has either one video or a series of videos related to it. And if you got 30 minutes, you can sit down and get through one of those videos at a time. And so that's what it was designed for, people that are busy, don't have a lot of time, and the checklist will help you identify which learning modules you need to focus on. Okay, Lori?
Yeah, thank you so much, Hank. And I just want to point out again, there's a lot of information in this checklist. There are a lot of questions, and it can seem overwhelming, but that's why we put it together, really, is to give you a sense of the types of things that will serve you well to really be thinking about before you sit down and open a business. And as Hank mentioned, as you're going through the checklist, if there's something you don't understand or something you want a little more information on, or you just want to bounce an idea off someone, Hank is available to help you kind of walk through the checklist. We will make our contact information available in the notes below each of the videos, so that if you do need someone to kind of walk you through the checklist and kind of talk through some of the issues, we're happy to do that, because our goal here is to help set you up to be as successful as possible in running your business. So with
Great.
that, yeah, I'd like to thank you, Hank, and we will see you in the next learning module, which is account management.